We'll start with basics of NoSQL database, that is MongoDB. So in this chapter, we'll be studying about MongoDB and how to install MongoDB, how to work on MongoDB. Installation I have already covered in the previous video, so you can refer to that for the installation. Now let's start with the basic overview of MongoDB. Why do we use MongoDB over SQL and so on? So, what do you understand by NoSQL databases? NoSQL database means not only SQL databases. That means the database is without any structured records or fields. At times, the relation or the table may require vertical and sometimes horizontal expansion of servers to expand as data or processing requirement grows. So NoSQL database is very easy to expand as and when requirement grows. It is not built on tables and do not employ any SQL to manipulate that data which it is stored in itself. NoSQL database are increasingly used in big data and real-time web application like data storage by Gmail, Facebook, eBay, Amazon. So we have seen that Amazon or the Gmail has large amount of data. Means if they have users, the different nodes are attached to it, and there are a large amount of data which is required to be stored. So this is done by NoSQL databases. Types of NoSQL databases. Multiple data models are supported by NoSQL database. Some of the models are key value databases, document databases, column family stores databases, and graph databases. So we'll be discussing all the four types in further slides. So the very first thing is key value database. Now key value database is also known as key value store. It is a type of NoSQL database that use simple key value method to store data. For example, of phone directory example we can take, we have the name and the value as a phone number. We can take IP forwarding table as example of key value in which the IP address is the key and the value of MAC address is the value. So this type of tables can be stored through key value database. Example is Amazon, DynamoDB and React. Document database. Document NoSQL databases are similar to key value databases in that there's a key and a value. Data is stored as a value. Its associated key is the unique identifier for that value. The difference is that in document database, the value contains structured or semi-structured data. This structured or semi-structured value is referred as JSON or BSON. JSON is the JavaScript object notation. Document store database are preferable for e-commerce platform, content management system, analytics platform, and blogging platform, where the data is large in number. Document store NoSQL database are not the right choice if you have to run complex search queries or if your application requires complex multiple operation transaction. That means this type of databases should not be used when we have complex search queries. We can only use these kind of data when we need to store large amount of data without further processing into the data. Example of document store NoSQL database are MongoDB, Apache CouchDB, Elasticsearch. So you can see this is one of the example where we have key and the value. Like first name is the key and the value for the first name is Bob. Address is the key where 5 Oak Street is the address and hobby is sailing. Column family stores database. Data is stored in cells grouped in column of data rather than row of data. Columns are logically grouped into column family. So we can just see the example first. So we have column storage. You can see this. Like one column is the name, the other is the email address and the corresponding email address with gender and certain number, age, number, and then this. So we'll just check this, how it works. Read and write is done using column rather than rows. Column family are a group of similar data that is usually accessed together. As an example, we often access customer's name and profile information at the same time, but not the information on their orders. The main advantage of storing data in column over relational database, that is, it enables the fast search and access and data aggregation. Each column family can be compared to a container of rows in RDBMS, where the key identifies the row and the row consists of multiple columns. The difference is that various rows do not have to have same columns, and columns can be added to any row at any time without having add them to other row. Example is big table, hypertable, HBase. So this is the example. Now we'll study about graph databases. Graph databases are basically built upon entity attribute value model. Entities are also known as nodes, which have properties. It is a very flexible way to describe how data relates to other data. Node stores data about each entity in the database. Relationship describes a relation between the nodes, and the property is simply the node on the opposite end of relationship. Graph database allow for virtually any relationship to be defined on the fly. So any node can be connected to the other node on fly. Graph-based NoSQL database are usually used in fraud detection, graph-based search, network and IT operation, social networks. Example is Neo4j, OrangoDB, and OrientDB. This is the example of graph-based database. We have various nodes. There are attributes to nodes, and various nodes are attached to each other through relationship. Advantage of NoSQL database. So why do we prefer NoSQL databases over SQL? Is the very first thing is elastic scalability. NoSQL databases are made for transparent expansion, taking advantage of new nodes. These databases are designed for low-cost commodity hardware. Big data application. Given that transaction rates are going from recognition, there is need to store massive volume of data. Now, these massive volume of data can be easily stored in NoSQL databases. Database administration. NoSQL database requires much less hands-on management with data distribution auto repair capability, simplified data models, and fewer tuning and administration requirements. NoSQL database can easily be installed in cheap commodity hardware. That means it is economical as the transaction and data volume increases. This means that you can process and store more data at much lesser cost. Now we will see the disadvantages of NoSQL databases. The NoSQL database is less matured as it is born very late when compared to RDBMS. Because all the enterprise need to have the reassurance that the function of their management system should not fail. They will have to access to competent support in timely manner. But NoSQL database in contrast tends to be open source system and it has not much support for handling the failures. Business intelligence and analytics. NoSQL database were created with the demand of Web 2.0, modern day web application in mind, where the demand of data extend beyond the characteristics of insert, read, update, and delete cycle. These databases offer few features for analysis, query, and ad hoc. The End goal of NoSQL database design was to offer solution that would require no administration at all. But the reality on the ground is much different. NoSQL database still demands a lot of technical skill with both installation and maintenance. And it also do not offer any advanced expertise because it is very new. It is virtually every NoSQL developer is still learning. Um, Easier to find RDBMS expert than NoSQL experts. Now we'll see how to start working with MongoDB. So as we know that the MongoDB is an open source system, cross-platform system, and it is document-oriented database that provides high performance, high availability, and easy scalability. Database is a physical container for collection in MongoDB. What is a collection? Now collection is a group of MongoDB documents. Collection do not enforce a schema. Like in previous RDBMS, we had schema. That was, we had a structure of the database. But here, the documents do not have any schema or structure. They can have many different fields in the same collection. Now, document is a set of key value pair which have dynamic schema.